Oh boy, this is a can of worms. Hi, my name is Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Lumen, who are actually great. Also, I am very sorry that I disappeared for the last 6 weeks, but that's because you guys actually blessed me with a ton of tea orders through my company, Lions Tea Exchange, and that's been keeping me very busy because, as you all know, I am the only person who packs and ships all of those. Obviously, and I hope you guys know this, I am so grateful for all of the orders, it's been really cool, but I do have to tell you all that the good and bad news here is that that means I also don't have a ton of inventory left of the new winter flavors, so if you want to try one, I suggest grabbing a box, or if you have already bought them and you really like them and you want to stockpile, also buy a box, because I don't think they're going to be around for too much longer. Also, I have launched a new thing on the website called Ugly Boxes, and these are basically just my regular tea boxes, but they have packaging defects, so maybe they've been crushed in transit or there's a misprint or something, but the tea inside is still good and I don't want to waste them. I don't want to be a wasteful person, so instead I have just discounted them, so you can go check them out too. The links to everything will be in the description. Now, I really ummed and ahed about commenting on this Brett Cooper situation, largely because I really like to stay in my own lane. Also because I made a really dramatic video and then just disappeared for 6 weeks, and you know, obviously that's not the greatest thing to do to your audience. It's not cool. But as I have watched a lot of the commentary and the speculation and everything as it has unfolded, I decided that I do in fact want to weigh in. Because like I said, apparently this is what I do now. I disappear for a month and then I reappear ready to say crazy things. So for those of you who don't know, Brett Cooper, until recently, hosted the Daily Wire show The Comment Section. The show was geared towards younger people, and the premise was that Brett would read people's comments on various issues and topics and weigh in herself. She built a huge audience in a very short space of time and has gotten really popular as a conservative online personality. Then, a few weeks ago, information started popping up suggesting that Brett was being pushed out of the company, but also her show. Obviously. A video posted to Twitter by a lad called Ian Carroll made several claims about Daily Wire and some of the alleged issues and unrest taking place at the company. Ian said a lot of things, but specifically, he had this to say about Brett. What is my voice doing?
And it looks like Brett Cooper signed that exact kind of contract. And she has built her brand and earned her place with 4.5 million subscribers, loyal fans. But then when I talked to my source, it got real dark. And I'm not sure why Brett wanted out and started to be unhappy there and why this whole thing started. My source wasn't really sure either, but once she crossed Jeremy Boring and Jeremy was pissed, he decided he would replace her with her best friend. And so he made a contract offer that Reagan apparently could not refuse, and he is now replacing Brett with Reagan slowly until the expiration of the current contract with Brett in December.
Ian is referencing something here that many viewers of the show were finding a little bit confusing and maybe somewhat suspicious. That this random woman called Reagan was showing up to basically fill in for Brett. And then obviously now that we know that Reagan is Brett's producer and also Brett's best friend. Or she used to be. Reagan even attended Brett's wedding as her maid of honor. So they're good friends, or they were at least, which in my opinion makes all of this so much worse. Ian goes on to say that Brett has signed an NDA and therefore is barred from commenting on any of this, and that Reagan reportedly took acting classes to try to emulate Brett's mannerisms and speech on the show.
So she is being forced to continue her show as though nothing is going on, while they replace her with her best friend. And probably are going to manufacture some sort of like slander or like, I don't know, I'm just speculating, but they're probably going to manufacture some sort of logical reason why Brett pushed herself out and they had to fill in with Reagan. Apparently, they even gave Reagan acting classes for her to emulate Brett's every movement and word.
So obviously, Ian Carroll's video popped off because of course it did. Everybody loves drama. Don't lie, you know you all do. It's like the modern version of observing gladiator battles, except absolutely no one has abs. And there's no wildlife, no lions. There are snakes though. I am sorry for the extra weird interjections that are probably going to come through in this video today. I am very hyped up for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, around this same time too, people also observed that Brett's content on the channel wasn't even new, as in it wasn't really covering news stories as it usually would, but seemingly recycling other pieces of content made in the last little while. FYI, in content making land, we call this evergreen, like the trees that don't lose their leaves. I hope that's self-explanatory. But you want to know what's not always self-explanatory? Your metabolism and health, which is why today's video is sponsored by Lumen. Are you tired of counting calories, getting terrible sleep, eating lettuce leaves, and hoping that you'll suddenly look like someone from Baywatch? If this sounds like you, then buckle up because I have a solution. And it's this nifty little device called Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach, and honestly guys, I actually love this thing. This little device measures your metabolism through your breath and lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs, and then gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. Because we're adults and everything is stressful all of the time. Your Lumen is incredibly easy to use. Once you've set it up and downloaded the app, all you have to do is breathe into it first thing in the morning to know what your metabolism is doing. Then, Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your reading, which is incredibly cool. But really, you can use your Lumen whenever you want, before or after workouts, before meals, after meals, so you know exactly what's going on with your body in real time. And I have to say, I personally love this little device and I'm so excited to see what it can do for me, because although it's not a quick fix and it does require actual lifestyle changes, it provides really important insights into what your metabolism is doing. Maybe it can help me grow a muscle. Yeah. So if you too want to take your own health into your hands, then click the link in the description, scan the QR code on screen, or go to lumen.me/Sydney15 for 15% off your Lumen. Again, that's lumen.me/Sydney15 for 15% off your purchase. Soon enough, after lots and lots of speculation, Brett herself announced that she was in fact leaving the Daily Wire, saying that most of the rumors were true, but the choice to leave was her own.
Hey guys, some of you have heard the rumors online, and the rumors are mostly true. Today, December 10th, will be my last day hosting the comment section and working for the Daily Wire. It is not true that I am being forced out. It was my own choice to leave. And believe me, this is bittersweet. I have had the most unbelievable 3 years helping to craft the show, building this community, and telling stories and sharing the truth every day. But at this point in my life, I am ready to take on a new direction, both personally and professionally. This means new challenges and new endeavors, which I will share with you soon. As for this show, the comment section will continue with the Daily Wire. My producer, Reagan, is taking over as host of the comment section, and I wish her and the Daily Wire all the best.
This, to me, feels like a hostage video. Blink twice if you need help, Brett! Viewers observed and made the comment that in this video, Brett looks and seems very emotional and almost on the verge of tears, which I think is pretty understandable when you have made something and created this thing that is doing very well and you're kind of having it ripped out from under you. I don't know. I have to imagine that's pretty painful, no? The thing you have dedicated multiple years of your life to, poured your heart and soul into, it's now being handed over to your best friend and producer while you have to make hostage videos pretending that you're fine. I'm just saying. Now, obviously, and unsurprising to absolutely none of us, fans were quite upset by this. And unsurprisingly, the channel has been bleeding subscribers. People have also noticed that Brett unfollowed the Daily Wire as a company, its CEO, and even Brett's replacement Reagan herself on social media. And I think all of my sarcasm and joking and whatever aside, I think you really only need to be a person with eyes to see that this situation is obviously not a good one. So that is everything that has happened to date publicly that you can go and look at yourselves, and I hope you feel sufficiently filled in. And yes, here is the part where I'm going to tell you all of my opinions. So right out of the gate, full disclosure, Brett and I are not friends. We don't talk, we don't have girly catch-ups on the phone where we talk about fingernails and babies. I don't know why I'm acting like what women talk about is a mystery to me when I am in fact a woman and have lots of female friends. Like, what is wrong with me today? One of you lovely viewers once actually bought Brett some of my tea and had me post it to her, I think in an effort to have her try it, like it, and then promote it. So that is in fact as close as she and I have ever gotten to one another. And I hope you liked the tea, Brett. But I am saying all of this because I want it to be very clear that Brett hasn't told me any of this herself, and I'm saying it because I want to. And because I have eyes and the ability to do some deductive reasoning. I think one of the really hard to swallow pills here is that right-wing conservative media is not free of the same bad behavior and bad practice that goes on a lot of the time at left-wing networks. I've been saying this publicly for some time to varying degrees, and I realize that every time I do, it doesn't really win me a lot of friends, and actually it runs the risk of not only alienating but upsetting audiences and viewers and whatnot, because it's hard to hear that the networks or the personalities or whatever that you like and that you think are trying to do great things and are ideologically on the same page as you are doing untoward things sometimes behind the scenes. But by the same token, I am also of the view that those of you with functioning frontal lobes are already aware of this information, and you can see it for what it is, regardless of the fact that you ideologically are on the same page as, again, these networks and people and institutions. Where there is money and potentially fame, there is a lot of ego, and there is a lot of very, very bad behavior. Now that I'm saying it, I actually kind of feel like it's probably the same thing in basically any industry. Especially for you finance bros. I don't actually know too many finance bros to be able to make that kind of a statement, but I do know that a lot of them are borderline alcoholics, so do with that information what you will. Anyway, having been in the media industry for a number of years now, both on the periphery but also involved in many things, I have heard a lot of horror stories from not only people that I am adjacent to, but friends of mine. I have had my own experiences, and I have seen a lot of not great things go down. So with that said, that is why I feel very confident weighing in here generally, and also why I don't feel like I am running the risk of putting out misinformation. I think at this point, a lot of you have come to trust me, at least to some extent, and you know that I don't really do things because I want to be involved in drama, unless it's making fun of Australian breakdances. So I do hope that what I am saying does not come across as wild speculation. Bottom line, just use your big old brains, you know? You don't have to take what I'm saying as gospel. You can if you want. You don't have to take it with a grain of salt. You can if you want. Just use your head and, you know, do your own deductive reasoning. I don't need to know the nitty-gritty details to know that something not great is happening behind the scenes. And I can say with almost 100% certainty that for Brett, this is not rainbows and butterflies. I know she didn't leave on good terms. I do not believe that she left of her own volition or free will, because realistically, guys, why would you leave a show at the height of its popularity when it's doing tremendously well, when you have seen a massive explosion in growth and you yourself are so young and up and coming with one of the biggest organizations in media? It logically doesn't make any sense career-wise. Her hostage video was likely scripted with a ton of legal oversight. Lawyers were probably very involved, and it was agreed upon by both parties as to not draw any more attention to this situation than there already was with all the speculation and whatnot. And I can say with absolute certainty that Brett has signed a big, fat, brutal NDA that means that even if she wants to talk about this, she can't. I don't need to know her personally to know that she signed some type of non-disparagement, non-disclosure document that means that even if she experienced some type of mistreatment while working at the company, she can't say anything about it. And I know this because it is a tool of the industry. It is one of several that are employed, but is the primary one that forces people to shut up. It forces them to slink away into the shadows, and it's this kind of hovering threat that if you do or say anything that is misperceived, that you get dragged into court and litigated into oblivion. Basically, everybody that I know who has worked in media, who has worked for a major company, has signed one of these kind of documents. They sign it when they originally sign on and sign a contract, and then they sign another one again sometimes when they leave the company. Now, to some of you, this probably seems quite normal and fine, that companies and business owners and entities, whatever, have the right to protect themselves from potential disparagement or whatever from a previous employee, and by the same token, that that employee also needs to have protection from the company that might do or say something that might impede their chances in the future of finding work. But the problem is that these NDAs inevitably end up covering up wrongdoing. So situations that aren't illegal, they're not close to being illegal, but they do involve bad behavior and mistreatment that would certainly alter the way that people perceive the individuals involved, or maybe even the company or entity or whatever at large. So audiences simply never know and they never find out, and it means that a lot of this stuff is allowed to not only continue, but to proliferate. And I know some of you are not gonna like hearing me say this, but I know for a fact that Daily Wire has had some people sign forever NDAs that effectively prohibit them from discussing their awful, awful experiences while working for the company. And I want to be crystal clear here. What I'm referring to goes beyond the realm of, oh, this person's unhappy, it's a disgruntled employee, and ventures into, not even ventures into, moves fully into the realm of Daily Wire is effectively covering up bad stuff and then using legal documents to stop that information from coming to light. Hello, cherubs. It is Editing Sydney here from the future, and I just want to say with relation to that last statement, for legal reasons, that is all alleged. Once again, for legal reasons, that is all alleged. Now back to the video. I hope you are all able to understand why I can't go into detail or explain further here as much as I would really like to. So back to Brett. I will say again, I don't know what happened specifically to her. What I do know is that this wasn't a happy parting of ways. And as an aside, I've just gotta say, I think it's really messed up that Brett is not only being replaced with her best friend and producer, but that she's being replaced at all. Again, I don't know Reagan. I'm sure she's a nice person, but, and I'm trying to find a nice way of saying this, it's not great to me to take your best friend's job. I find it not awesome to do this to somebody that you reportedly, allegedly care about. And evidently, Brett doesn't appreciate it either, which is why they're not friends anymore, which is why she doesn't follow her on social media, and I dare say that we won't be seeing the two of them together in polite company anytime soon. Perhaps what adds insult to injury here is that this whole situation is being painted as a peaceful transition, the passing of the torch, if you will. But if it was that, then why didn't this happen on camera with the two of them in the same room? Why wasn't there any sort of discussion between the two of them publicly that demonstrates that things are fine? When there's silence, silence is often indicative of not good stuff going on. But again, I feel like that's just me beating a dead horse because I think it's pretty clear that these two are not friends, that this wasn't a peaceful transition, that it wasn't a happy moment where, oh, my friend is leveling up and I'm going off to do something else. I think that we'd be kidding ourselves if we arrived at that conclusion. Beyond that, I think it's actually really important to note that assuming that Reagan is in fact innocent in all of this, what Daily Wire is actually doing to her is kind of messed up. The comment section was built around Brett. It was popularized by Brett. Replacing her, especially like this, means that the audience won't give Reagan a fair chance. And I bet you anything that this show will not grow any further than it already has, and if it does, I will be very surprised. Like I said earlier, subscribers are already falling off a cliff. I will actually say here that a company owning a show and its IP and all of this is not uncommon. That's actually very, very normal in this industry. And companies hiring somebody to come in and host that show is also very normal, very typical. None of this is abnormal. The comment section is Daily Wire property, and for those of you who weren't aware, they actually approached another content creator, a woman called Chrissy Clark, at the inception of the show to host it. I will actually link Chrissy's information in the description box. I think you guys will really like her. She's adorable. She's She's also trying to grow her YouTube channel, so go give her a follow. Anyway, the show then cast Brett instead. So while it's not abnormal at all to have a show, to have an entity that already exists and then have a host and then put them together and make greatness, it is weird, at least in my opinion, to assume that those two things don't become one entity, because they do. You know, you associate show with person and person with show, and they just kind of become like one and the same. So when you try to replace a host on an entity that people already know and are familiar with, it just doesn't go down so well. And to reiterate, Reagan has already been criticized for mimicking Brett's mannerisms and speech, and this speaks to the claims made earlier by Ian Carroll in his video. The reality here is that this is an industry that is built largely around personality. You can't just copy paste a new person into an existing role and expect it to work. It very rarely does. People, especially on YouTube, repeatedly show up for the content creators that they like, and they expect to see the content creators that they like. And so I think that's why, for me, watching all of this unfold, it rubs me the wrong way. So with that said, I am going to link Brett's new YouTube channel in the description box of this video, and I hope you will all go and show her a ton of love and support, because I know that this has not been fun or easy, and maybe at one point she will be able to say something. I highly doubt it, but I think the details of this situation, should they ever come to light, will not be pleasant, and she's probably going through it right now. So go and give that small child some love because this stuff isn't easy, and it's very hard when it's all happening very publicly. As for little old me, I know that some of you are going to get very cross at me for saying all of this, because how could I? And I also know that there's an element here where, you know, people are going to be like, oh, you're just saying all this because you want to stir up drama, cause drama. And that's really not what it is. Whenever I tell you guys things or try to give you insight into the industry, it's genuinely just because I think you deserve to know. It's not because I get something out of it. I actually am very nervous uploading these kinds of videos, because I hope it's obvious why. But I really think that you deserve to know who is handing information down to you, and who you're giving your money to, and who you are supporting. Yeah. Media companies across the board behave badly, and I would venture to say that it's maybe less common when they don't. They do bad things, they cover things up, they create all sorts of legal documents and legal restrictions that stop people from ever really meaningfully blowing the whistle. They hide legal situations behind arbitration where nothing is public and nothing can ever come to light. And audiences, I think, in a lot of ways, get duped by all of this. Sorry, let me say that like an American. Duped. No, that's still wrong. You get duped. What am I even doing today? And I don't think you have to look terribly far to find all sorts of great examples of exactly what I am describing to you here. Not only on the right wing, but obviously, of course, on the left as well. And when you sort of decouple yourself from the ideological constraints of this is my side, I must never criticize my side, you start to realize that there are bad faith actors and bad players and bad people everywhere. And the truth of the matter, guys, is that the reason you really don't hear a lot about this outside of all the things I described is because a lot of the people involved just want to move on with their lives. They want to put it behind them. They want to move forward as best they can. They want to be hireable because, you know, if you go scorched earth, no one wants you on their team. But also there's obviously this tremendous fear of doing or saying the wrong thing and being dragged into court. I know people personally who feel that way, and I can relate to a lot of the negative feelings surrounding this issue as well. So yes, bad things happen in this capacity all of the time. People are unable to blow the whistle. They're unable to talk about it a lot of the time. Brett Cooper was definitely done dirty in her situation, and I think that she needs a lot of love and support right now. I do hope that she bounces back and is able to do good stuff and is able to go out on her own and be successful, because that is one of the greatest things that you can do. And it's also why independent media is so importante, and you know, why I love having you guys around on this channel supporting me, showing up whenever I make my psycho content, because it means that I get to just tell you stuff, or to the best of my ability, I get to tell you stuff. So I'm very appreciative of that. I have to stop doing these impersonal videos because I feel like I'm becoming one of those like other kinds of YouTubers, and I don't want that. So regular videos coming down the pipeline. I'm working on a bunch of them. I have a bunch of ideas. They'll be my normal deep dive-esque kind of ones. But if you do want more of these impersonal ones, obviously let me know, because they are infinitely easier to make, and I always feel like we connect. So there's that. If I can leave you guys with any sort of sentiment here, it's that you need to be discerning, because media is a cult of personality. There are lots of people who are great, who are wonderful human beings behind the scenes and on camera. But there's also a lot of that that's not the case at all. And I think that it's important for audiences to recognize that the people that you're listening to, the institutions that you support, the companies that you support, they're not infallible. And just because they align with you ideologically does not suddenly mean that they're perfect. I love you guys. I am very, very grateful that you give me the ability to remain independent. I am grateful that you show up and listen to these videos when I make them. And again, you know, don't take everything that I have to say as gospel. You are allowed to decide how much you agree with and how much you don't. I'm just telling you the things that I know, have seen, and experienced. And hopefully you can wade through that to arrive at maybe what you think yourselves. Now, of course, before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Lumen using the link in the description. I love Lumen. You should definitely go and look. I think that this is a really cool little tool, and I think that a bunch of you will actually get some really great use out of it. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? I'm actually a little bit scared, I'm not gonna lie, of reading your responses to this video. I'm expecting to get roasted. Do you also think that it is kind of silly to subscribe to the cult of personality, to assume that people and companies and whatnot are infallible? Do you believe that it's okay for people to do bad if they are ideologically on the same wavelength? Do you think that Brett Cooper probably was done dirty a little bit in this situation? Do you think that it's kind of wrong to replace her with her producer and former best friend? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here and you are not subscribed already and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, more of my regular deep divey kind of content, then subscribe to the channel and also leave this video a like and a comment. It helps tremendously. And also, I like reading your feedback, although again, like I said, I'm a bit scared of you guys this time. If you have a video suggestion or idea, feel free to let me know. I have a running list of them and I really like hearing your ideas. And of course, merriest of Christmases to you guys. I'm sure that I will upload before Christmas, but if I don't, Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you have all had a very, very fun and enjoyable Christmas period, and I will see you wonderful, pretty people in the next video.